photogenic. It
Yeah.
never gets old. Like
She's
that
cute.
view never gets old. I think that's the Adler Planetarium, Cam, is it not?
Yeah, and the lakeshore has been busy, bustling with people riding bikes and going for jogs.
I'm thinking of putting the baby seat on the back of the bike and picking up Jero from daycare today rather than having my dad pick him up and drop him off because it's so perfect out.
I love that idea.
And Jero loves it. We get to go through a tunnel.
Oh, wow. If you get to go through a tunnel. You got to do it.
Right.
We have a busy show today.
Yes, we do.
Hot off the presses.
One of our busiest shows.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. Yeah. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. Could you sleep last night after hearing that news?
You know what? I didn't hear till I got in to work today. But it was, you know what?
What?
The reason why it's such big news, and don't be back home, be like, oh my gosh. We need good news.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
We need big good news stories. We got a couple wars going on. We got this political polarization constantly.
Yeah.
Come on. All right.
Something else coming up this hour, don't miss it. We had a medium on our show this morning on GDC, and he was so interesting. I was so fascinated that we're going to be able to talk
about
to him
NDEs.
again.
NDEs.
The proof of life after death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But before that, we got to talk about this Travis and Taylor big breaking news. We are bringing in Susan Cordigan. She's the owner of Big City Bride to talk all about celeb wedding trends and what these two might be planning. Susan, good morning to you. Thank you for being here. Big City Bride, where are you guys located? Where are you guys located?
Big City Bride, we are located in Lincoln Park, Chicago, and we are very excited about this news. It is going to be rippling through the wedding world for a long time.
Cannot
wait. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than this.
Okay, so the number one question I think that everyone has is, was that the actual engagement that we saw those pictures from, or was this just a setup after the fact? What do we think?
So, you know, anything's possible. She is a showwoman, and he is always on camera. So I think this was not the actual proposal. From what I understand, he did it right before the podcast earlier this month, but it certainly was the perfect environment for a proposal, and we do think we'll be seeing copycats of this for a while.
Oh, for sure,
before
for
the
sure.
podcast? Oh man!
And this is just the unveiling. We had a similar thing when I got married. That wasn't our actual wedding. We had done like a little courthouse deal. I've told you that before.
Yes.
So I mean, we didn't consider that our actual wedding, but technically speaking, yeah.
Personal.
So, you know, we were trend setting before Taylor and Travis, jumped the gun. All right. So, Susan, let me ask you this. What is the general timeline on these celebrity engagements, okay? This is not going to be something where, 2 weeks later they're eloping to Vegas, all right? We're expecting this to be a big happening. What's your prediction here?
I think that they will do this quicker than most engagements, but they do have football and concerts and all kinds of things, for music. So I think it'll be March. That's my prediction. It'll be March after football season is over and before summer season. So I'm guessing it'll be a shorter engagement by the metrics of weddings, but I think it'll be rather pending on their schedules, which are obviously so busy.
I wonder too, do you think this is going to be a massive wedding, or do you think it's going to be very personal and small, or maybe they're going to do the double thing again, have a little one and then have a big party? Like what is your vibe from this?
They could be anywhere from Bezos to backyard, but I do think it'll be err on the side of private, smaller, and very much unique to their brands and their people. So I think it'll be probably multi-day, and maybe we'll get, they'll have it'll be a private wedding, I think, ceremony, followed by a big party later in the day or the weekend, but I do think whatever happens, she's going to share it with her Swifties. We're hungry for it. We know that she's good for some entertainment, and as is he. So I think that we're going to see it in some way, shape, or form, but maybe not the actual private ceremony. That's my prediction.
All right. So you specialize in weddings and all the fashion. What do you think will happen in terms of themes or trends? Or is it completely, is that an unfair question because they're going to be like blazing a new trail here?
Great question. I think they will be blazing a new trail, but I do think we will see classic Taylor where it is multifaceted, different looks, different vibes, different parties. Maybe every event she holds will be sort of like an era. So it can be their, romantic era and then their party era and their, so I do think that it'll be multifaceted just like they are. And there's going to be different vibes and looks and decor, and it's going to be great content, whatever it is. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll all be watching, and whatever they do, it's going to be influential for many years to come.
I wonder, because they are America's royalty, basically, if they're gonna live stream or like have it be like broadcasted, like live on TV, wedding.
They're obviously very social media savvy. I mean, that was a very like staged. Obviously, they have my wife's a photographer, guys, and so she will get called in for a lot of times the groom will give her a heads up, and so my wife knows when the question is going to be popped well before the bride does.
Yes.
And obviously this is the same thing. I mean, given the fact that Susan just said they probably did get engaged earlier than this release. But where do you see, Susan, this kind of ranking in the pantheon of recent marriages? I know we covered the heck out of the Meghan and Harry. And then we most recently had Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos.
Yep.
Is this kind
above all of that?
This is above, you think?
I think.
I do, as in importance and to American sweethearts are getting married. This is a big deal. This is the Super Bowl of weddings, and it is going to be much bigger than. It'll be well more. People are thirstier for this than we were for Bezos.
Well,
So it is, like people say, Taylor feels like your best friend and Travis feels like your bro. So people are emotionally connected to them as a couple. So I think this is going to be bigger. It'll be covered more. There's more excitement generated around it. And I do think that any ancillary parties they do will also be copied. The bachelor party, the bachelorette party, any showers that they end up doing. I think any tidbits we get, there will be coverage, hopefully sneak peeks throughout, and it'll be copied. And that's a fun thing. She's a trendsetter to begin with, so I think that this is all within her realm.
And the songs that'll come about the weddings afterwards. You gotta think too, like the age of girls and women now who follow Taylor and are like big Taylor Swift fans. They're probably getting into that age of weddings and marriage. So maybe I think this is why it's going to be such a big deal, is because these young women who maybe are engaged or going to get married are big fans of Taylor. So
how old is she? Do we know?
She's my age, I think. I think she's in her mid-30s.
She's 35.
Yeah.
And so, it's interesting. Like my parents, they got married when they were 20 and 21 years old, which is what, that happened. That was so common back in the early 70s.
Right.
But things have changed, and I wonder if that will have a ripple effect too. It's like there's no set age. You don't need to be engaged in your early 20s. You can wait.
Yeah.
And because Travis is, I think he's probably in that age range as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't know. But something else I wonder too is she has all the money in the world, right? She's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Will she show that money off?
Like Bezos did.
Or is she going to reel it in and keep it more, conservative? I'm not sure. It'll be interesting.
What is your prediction on that? Do you think this is going to be a lavish thing? Or do you think this is going to be understated relatively?
I think it'll be well done. I think it'll be well done. And I don't think she'll be spending money just to spend it and show it off. I think whatever elements are brought in will have meaning. They'll be thoughtful. They'll be intentional. And it'll be a show of their romance more than a show of their money.
They probably got all the right people in their corner too, telling them like what to do.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, speaking of, Susan, you're behind the scenes. You're in all kinds of brides' corner as well.
Yep.
How big of a gig is this going to be for whoever plans this thing?
That's a great question. It will be a very big gig. No matter the size of the wedding, it's going to be a massive undertaking for many obvious reasons. Privacy, security, keeping keeping it real amongst the guests so that they're not worried about paparazzi or what have you. But I do think that my hope for this is that she does sell the story, the photo, the rights, and to whatever publication she chooses, maybe Fox News, that would be lovely, and then donates the money to a charity that can use it. That's my hope for this whatever public, publications she wants to use or any public display. Pick a path, get paid for it, and donate the money.
Where do we think location-wise? Do you think it's going to be like here somewhere or overseas somewhere? In
That's a great
space,
question.
perhaps.
It's right that there has been talk of it's so big, is it going to be in space? But no, I think she'll do it right here in America, United States, somewhere, possibly her home on the East Coast. That's a beautiful place for a wedding. Or, maybe because it will be March, somewhere a little warmer along the southern coast. But I do think that it will be here. And, there's plenty of places and plenty of vendors and planners and locations that are vying for this wedding.
I love that you are confident. I can tell in the fact that it's going to happen in March. I like that.
Yes. I know football is all consuming, and summer season, I know she probably is busier, and I'm imagining they're going to take a fabulous honeymoon. We haven't heard any rumblings on that, but that'll also create influence amongst people getting married, planning trips. Obviously, we've seen shows that lead to viral locations to visit, and their wedding honeymoon, that will be no different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Susan, you work for Big City Bride. Can you tell us a little bit, the viewers, if they haven't heard of Big City Bride, what exactly you guys do, what you are?
Yes, Big City Bride. We are the original wedding planning firm in Chicago. We have been around for 22 years serving couples, and we have a blast. We love our couples and their families, and we've seen the wedding market and the wedding trends change so drastically over the years. It's been exciting. I have been in this business well before Instagram or Pinterest.
I want to know what some of the big trends are right now. It's always funny. You bring up my parents again in this conversation, but they got married in their church in Indianapolis, and their reception was just in the basement of the church, and they had orange juice in those styrofoam cups and a wedding cake, and that's what a lot of people just did back then.
Yes.
Obviously, things have changed very, very drastically in the decades since. Things have gotten, in some cases, more lavish. Like you said, sometimes people purposely scale things down. What big trends are you seeing in today's wedding scene?
So many trends. Details galore, fabulous customization, neat signage and graphics and decor that has a theme throughout. And we start that theme with the save the date, and it might be a motif or a color or a pattern, and you'll see it throughout the invitations, the wedding day, the decor, the dance floor, the ceiling. All of the details match. And then we start early, we go often in with the details, and it really becomes like branding your wedding, which is so fun in this day and age of all the social media and the content. We're also seeing a lot more coverage. There was a period in which people they weren't into videography, and now it's video and behind the scenes video. The BTS video is all the rage. People want to know what their day was like from an outside perspective, but not the perfectly polished video that you do want. They want more of a behind the scenes view. And, oh, what did I look like when I read his note? What did I say to her when I saw her for the first time? Whatever it may be, they want to know what their wedding felt like from a bystander. All the little moments that are not perfectly pinned together, but the ones that just happen organically.
You know, I think this is a great opportunity, speaking of, for a Netflix or an Apple TV to grab onto this wedding.
My gosh.
Follow it along the way and then put like a documentary together.
Think about how much that
take off.
Remember when Jake was reporting that when she just decided to make a movie out of her concert tour, it became the #1 movie in theaters? Like, right? She is like an absolute juggernaut. I love your idea, Susan, about her selling the photographs and donating the proceeds to a charity. These images we're looking at right now, these were just social media, right? Or
Right.
They didn't like sell it to People magazine, right? This is just social media. Is that right?
Yeah,
Caitlin?
Right. That was social media, and it got millions of clicks in just, a few minutes, a short amount of time. So they can have a massive effect. And maybe they pick various charities. Maybe they each pick a charity. But I do think that that would be a feel-good moment for all of us that are just waiting and watching in the wings.
What are some of the little like kind of events along the way? You mentioned the bachelor party and the bachelorette party. What else can we maybe expect to see the paparazzi really try to get in on? I know there's things like the dress fitting and I don't know, the rehearsal
Who's gonna
dinner.
do the flowers?
What kinds of things are we gonna expect the cameras to try to flock toward here?
Look, guys, I'm a party planner, so I love all the parties, and there are lots of them when you lead up to a wedding. It's a great opportunity to get together with your friends and family and see people you don't get to see all the time. It's a happy reason to gather. So celebrate. Again, celebrate early, celebrate often, but let it start with the most fabulous engagement party and do that soon. They should do it right away while the momentum is just starting out and they're excited and they've got that just engaged glow, but they should have an engagement party. My question is for this is who's going to do the music for any of their parties? That's the big question for me, because I can't imagine. She's either got a really short list or a really long list. So we'll see what that comes out to be, but start with the engagement party, then go to all of your little showers and sprinkles with the different groups of people. Celebrate small, celebrate big, and then each of them should do a batch party or a joint patch party or both. And then of course we've got the wedding weekend, which will be rehearsal, welcome reception, wedding day, wedding reception, after party, the farewell brunch, the send-off brunch, the hangover brunch, whatever you want to call it. Make it a multi-day event. Give everybody lots of opportunity to soak up the good vibes and enjoy this moment we all know she has been singing about for so long.
Can I ask you a wedding question? Because we asked about trends. Is it tacky if you're paying for, because I'm sure this has changed over the years too, if you're paying per head, is it tacky to say no kids allowed?
Ooh.
It's not tacky, and a lot of reasons. It's not always about the money. A lot of times it's about the space or the vibe. And there are times that are great for kids, and there are times it's really more of an adult affair. And if you have a sticky situation, a close loved one that has children and they really want them to witness your nuptials, let them come to the ceremony, let them look on or be a part of it in some way, and then leave. When it becomes an adult party, they can go home.
Oh,
to
that's
their
a great
normal
idea.
bedtime.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good 50-yard line.
Right.
Yeah, that's meeting halfway.
Right.
Susan Cordigan with Big City Bride, thank you so much. Hey, if they announce the wedding date in March, I will be thinking of you, Susan.
Thank you.
She's involved. Watch.
Yes.
Secretly.
Yes, indeed. We'll be checking back in with you. Thanks, Susan.
All right, you guys. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Oh, look, I see a pooch behind her, just making a little cameo there. Yeah, this is, I didn't think about all the little angles of this. I mean, there's so many.
So many.
The band will be huge. Like,
Do you think
who's
Blake
going to play?
Lively's going to be there?
I was wondering that too. I mean, I'm not Mr. Celeb, but being in the morning news, you do hear things. But yeah, that was a question that did
TMZ
go.
kept us in the loop with that.
TMZ is going to. We're going to have to
Oh,
check in with Michael
yeah.
Babcock about this.
Of course.
Oh
we
my
could chat all
gosh.
day.
All right, we have will you tease our next guest here? Because you talked to him very briefly
yes.
during GDC.
Yes. Natalie and I spoke to a medium who's actually in town for a convention, and he gives us all of the juicy details about what it's like to be a medium. I mean, we could go for days talking to this man, and luckily he stayed behind so he could chat with us, but he's going to tell us about how he talks about the proof of life after death.
Near-death experiences. He's an
Right
expert
after
in this. Yeah, we'll be right back with him.
All right, 10:22. So what if science could prove that there's life after death? Our next guest says it can, and he's got the evidence to back it up. So this is Mark Anthony. He's also known as the psychic explorer and a psychic medium, an attorney, and now he's a keynote speaker at the 50th anniversary of the International Association for Near-Death Studies right here in Chicago. Thanks for sticking around and chatting with us this morning.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and it's great to be here. Yes, I'll be speaking at the 50th anniversary of the International Association for Near-Death Studies, and it's the 50th anniversary of the introduction of the term near-death experiences. So this is a historic conference. It's out at the Oak Brook Hills Convention Center, and I've got a Spirit Communication event tonight, the 27th, and Saturday night, the 30th. But on Friday, I'm giving my keynote presentation, which is Near-Death Experiences, an ancient mystery that has changed the world. But there's going to be several amazing speakers, and it's really great to be here in Chicago.
So I want to dive deep first into your experience, your life, and how you became a medium, or have been a medium since you were a kid. Can you bring us through that?
I've tracked mediumship abilities in my family, on both sides of the family, mom and dad's side of the family, back into the 1890s.
Whoa.
And it appears to be what's known as a recessive genetic trait. For example, we all have brown eyes, but there may be people in our family that pop up now and again that have blue eyes. So it's a recessive trait, meaning that it can skip a generation or two. So when you've got two parents that have the same recessive genetic trait, the likelihood one of their children having that trait increases exponentially, and that happened to be me. So I'm about 3.5 years old, and I start seeing my invisible friends. Now that's not unusual for a toddler, but when mom and dad can see who I'm talking about, and I remember mom, said, "He's got it," and my dad was like, "Oh God, he's got it."
They knew. Whoa. So they
What
probably
was the
heard
first
stories
thing?
from
Like,
your
how did they know? Because you guys were seeing the same presence?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, and the thing is, my dad was a U.S. Navy SEAL, and after the Navy, he became a NASA engineer, aerospace engineer. My mom was a commercial artist. So we were, the all-American family next door, although when my mom passed, she was very loved in the community. There was a lot of people at her service, and a couple of the neighbors came up and said, "We always looked at your family kind of like the Addams family,
Yeah.
but kind of the cool Addams family."
Right. So talking and diving into the proof of life after death, what has
Yes.
been your experience with that research?
Quite a bit. Having been a near-death experiencer myself, because when I was about 4 years old, this was after I started seeing spirits, I went into cardiopulmonary failure and I died. I was flatlined, and in the ambulance they hit me with the defibrillator paddles, and it brought me back. But I left the ambulance. I remember shooting out of it and seeing it going down Orange Blossom Trail in Orlando, headed to Orange Memorial Hospital, and I noticed there was numbers on the top of the ambulance. And I was like, why are there numbers on the top of an ambulance? And the next thing I realized, I'd gone into this light, and I was instructed that everything was okay, and the next thing I knew, I started breathing again. And the thing that really hurt me the most, here I was, 4 years old. They just shocked me. People have been beating on my chest. They stuck a oxygen mask on me. But the thing that hurt me the most was seeing my mother crying. Because she was there in the ambulance, and she was praying to God, don't let my baby die. The other interesting thing is both my parents also had near-death experiences. My dad had 2 of them. He was a diver, and the last one he had, his regulator malfunctioned when he was about 150 feet deep. And in those days, there was no backup system, no way to clear it. And he said he went into a light and he heard a familiar voice that he'd heard when he was 16 and in a car accident. And it told him his name was Earl. And the voice said, "Earl, it's not your time. You have to go back." And then my mother died on an operating table when I was a teenager. And I remember that because I was in the waiting room. And she went into a white light, saw her father, whom she was very close to, her maternal grandmother, who was also a very well-known psychic medium, and a number of other people. Anthony, you got a question?
I do, yeah. Well, I was just going to have you comment on how I've heard extensive interviews with other near-death experience researchers, and your experience that you remember where you saw the top of the ambulance.
Yes.
That is like one of the most common threads through all these, right?
Correct.
Like people have seen themselves from the ceiling when they're on the operating table.
Correct.
Will you kind of inform everybody about just how common that experience is?
Near-death experiences appear to happen in stages. So there's the precipitating event, what it is that takes your life or puts you right on the threshold. And what happens is your consciousness separates from your body. You get a floating sensation, and what you're discussing is known as veridical perception. Veridical perception is where you're able to see things external from your body, like I did the numbers on the ambulance. My mother saw the operating table, and then she shifted away from that. So veridical perception is one of the first stages. Then the second one is the traveling through a tunnel into a light. And then when you get into the light, you begin to perceive people who have died, close friends, loved ones. If you go to the next stage, into the light, this is where people describe an encounter with the divine power we would call God. And for those of us who've had near-death experiences, even the word God is too limiting. It's the most incredible, beautiful, you feel like you're part of everything, everywhere. There's this absolute wisdom and love that you're communicating with. And it is very remarkable. So the way I look at it is, here's your body, and when you have an NDE, it's like you're attached to a rubber band, and you go, and it depends how far you go, then you touch the other dimension. I call it the afterlife frequency. You can call it heaven, nirvana, and then you're pulled back. Now, as a medium, I communicate with the people whose rubber band snapped, and they have gone on into the white light, and that's such an amazing ability, gift. I mean, I thank God every day for being able to do this.
Really? Whoa. Yeah, I asked your experience, like, because you can communicate with these people, if it just happens spontaneously. You said you can turn it on and turn it off.
That's part of being disciplined. I meet a lot of inexperienced and young mediums that say, oh, they're around me all the time. Well, here's the question. Do you leave the doors and windows of your house open 24/7? Of course not. So why would you want to do that to you mentally? And also, it degrades the quality of the contact if you're constantly getting bombarded, as opposed to you define the parameters of the contact. The spirits that work with you are going to respect that. You let them know, I'm either doing this or I'm not, and it enhances the quality of the contact. Now, that's not to say that I've been places and all of a sudden a very persistent spirit will want to get a message through to someone. And when I was in Virginia Beach, I went to the lighthouse, which is on the naval base. It's a historic lighthouse, and of course, you have to go through security, and there's sailors everywhere. And there was this one sailor who was working on something. He was a real nice guy, and I was drawn to talk to him. And we started talking about the history of the lighthouse. And I said, did your father die from lung cancer? And he looked at me and he said, yes. I said, I'm not trying to offend you. He goes, no, go ahead. And his father brought through several messages that were so profound, things I couldn't possibly know. And it brought him such a sense of comfort. Now, I normally don't run up to people and fling a reading at them. Well, yeah, it's like, you see these TV shows where a man walks in and says, hey, you're eating pizza, and they throw a reading at you. You got to realize those are scripted. Okay, 8 different camera angles, close-ups, perfect makeup, perfect sound. I mean, you guys are on TV. That takes hours to film that. So that's scripted. Also, it's unethical to do that. It's like you don't go up to somebody and say, you need your appendix out, and they start, hacking away at you. You have to be respectful, not only of the person, but also of the spirits as well. Okay, so we're getting kind of the wrap here, but when is this event that you're going to be speaking at? And what are you hoping the takeaway is from that? International Association for Near-Death Studies. This will help people understand that life after death is a reality and provable by science. I'm doing spirit communication tonight, where I'll be connecting people with their loved ones in spirit. I'll also be conducting that on Saturday, in addition to giving a keynote speech on Friday. In this month's edition of Best Holistic Life magazine, I wrote an article about Dr. Mary Neal. And she's an amazing surgeon, head of surgery at USC, total skeptic, but had a near-death experience that changed her life and in many ways changed so many other people's perception of the afterlife. And every Thursday I do a live stream show, The Psychic and the Doc. My co-host, Dr. Pat Basili, is a psychologist. People call in, I do readings for them. Dr. Pat helps them understand the depth of the messages. If you want to find out about all these things, my website, afterlifefrequency.com, and my latest book, The Afterlife Frequency, has been endorsed by the top scientists that study the afterlife in the world, and I'm very humbled that it was up for a Pulitzer. So It's all at afterlifefrequency.com. And I want to thank you, Caitlin and Anthony, for having me on the show. It's a great honor. And Chicago is such a beautiful city.
Enjoy it while
really
you're here. You got great weather while you're here.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Mark. I wish we had the rest of the hour. I listened to this like 2-hour podcast where they talked to another researcher about NDEs, and some of the stories are incredible. Like people who are completely unconscious going to the hospital. They knew what the outside of the hospital looked like, what the receptionists looked like, what the doctors were talking about while they were flatlined.
I've got so many accounts from friends and colleagues that have NDEs. Maybe I'll be able to come back
and come back and visit.
Even Zoom maybe one of these days.
That would be great.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you guys. To everyone, God bless you. And
thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to be speaking about a new tool from Northwestern University that tracks infants' cognitive and all their developmental signs after 16 days. It's a tool that we can all use at home to make sure their development is on track. Wow. So that is when we come back. Stay with us. We're going to be right back after this. All right, parents out there, or soon to be parents. This is cool. Developmental scientists and medical social science experts at Northwestern's Feinberg School of Medicine have spearheaded the creation of a new tool. They're calling it the National Institute of Health Toolbox. And this is a tool that provides standardized assessment of cognitive, language, motor skills, and social emotional skill development for infants as young as 16 days old. So, why is this so important? This research, it can basically give an indication for are they on track to have a normal and healthy development over the course of their life. So joining us now is Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine's Richard Gershon. Dr. Gershon, thank you for joining the program. We appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, Anthony. Caitlin, thank you for having me.
Okay, I'm going to start it off really general. What is in this toolbox, sir?
So we worked with a team of researchers from literally around the world to create on behalf of the National Institutes of Health series of 40 measures that can be given to children as young as 16 days of age and up to 42 months of age. And we can identify broadly based on cognitive functioning, things such as language development and executive functioning, motor functioning, where's a child at relative to the ability to get up, to walk, to move around, social emotional functioning, and so up until now, most assessments in this area were done by parent observation, which is good, but parents often feel that their children are gifted or they feel that they have lots of problems. We need an objective way of doing this, particularly for use by researchers, educators, and clinicians. We're not quite ready yet for parents to give this to their children on their own, although they're the ones who would bring their child in and work with them. This is not, we're not expecting to put the baby in a box somewhere. This is them doing natural observations and being able to assess what they're doing.
So it looks like you have an app, is this right? An iPad app that uses video and eye tracking to measure babies' learning and responses. Is this something that you were mentioning, like that could assist the parents with their observation of their child?
Right, so we did it as an iPad app because there are lots of specialized equipment that's been created over time, but it's just too expensive to maintain. And the latest iPads have the ability, we train the iPad to follow where a child is looking on the screen. So we can put an object on the screen or several objects on the screen and say, look at the spoon, where is the spoon? And we can see where the baby's looking on the screen even prior to their ability to talk. And then we also use it for things like taking videos of their motor behavior and guiding a person through a structured evaluation. Are those motor behaviors up to date? Are they developmentally appropriate? Is it something to watch out for, or are we just tracking?
I remember one of the most nerve-wracking parts of being in the recovery room after both of our boys were born, over at Northwestern, by the way, doctor, was when they came in and did the hearing test. Do you remember this, Caitlin?
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, you're on pins and needles during that, like, I hope everything is normal. You know what I mean? Like you want, bottom line, a lot of people are concerned about boy or girl. I was just more in the 10 fingers, 10 toes.
Okay?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Dr. Gershon, why is this so important to get this? I mean, you're saying between 16, I mean, as early in life as 16 days. Why is it so important to get these metrics documented and observed so early?
So in many cases, all we're doing is seeing that a child's on track. And by the way, child development varies widely. As parents, you know, if you have more than one child, they develop differently. That's all okay. But also, more and more, we think we can detect early signs of autism. We can detect early signs of diseases. And if we have the opportunity to give that information to a clinician or an educator, they may be able to do interventions early on that may be able to provide aid to that child in such a way that it will make certain that those, whatever difficulties they're having early on, will not affect them later in life.
I would love to know, if there's parents out there that are listening that have newborns. As Anthony, just like you, I was worried about everything. What are the main things that you've seen in your experience at work, the main red flags with these young ones that parents should be aware of?
Not really my area. I'm a measurement scientist, and
Okay.
I work with people who are experts in this area, so I don't want to stretch too much.
Yeah.
But I think parents have a very good gut of what's happening, and they can see other children around them. So speaking more as a parent than as I'm certainly not a pediatrician. If a child's not developing like their peers, find out what's going on. But on the other hand, I have a daughter who's now a school principal, and she was off the developmental curve on the small side. She was, too small for the quote norms of development. But she continued to progress all along. So, I mean, we have to be careful. Most children grow up to be very productive, right? And they're on a different path. And what the NH Toolbox just allows us is to assess that, track it, in research studies. We're using it right now in a study of 70,000 children to see the impact of the environment. Is air pollution or plastics really affecting child development? As parents, we worry about all these things, but there's very little, on some of those things, there's not objective evidence. This is it. We've presented a tool for clinicians to look at those things.
That's so great. So it's already in effect. It's already a tool that is being used to track tens of thousands of infants. How long is that research going to last? Like in terms of the sample time frame that you are going to be able to have access to for this information?
So right now, the Environmental Child Health Outcome Study, ECHO, is a nationwide study. It's conducted at hundreds of locations. We are responsible for the measurement, including things like the baby toolbox. It's in its 10th year out of funded for 14 years so far. I would hope that it will continue to be funded because an important part is tracking the children as they grow older.
Right.
Are things that we observed at 6 months predictive of something at age 5, 8, 10, 12? But so it's really in very long term. We have biomarkers on those children to see did chemicals get into their bloodstream, at birth, and did that affect their development? And we're using the toolbox to objectively assess it. By the way, we also ask parents how they see their child doing, but we combine that information with these objective measures.
And you said how many kids are involved in this?
In the ECHO study, there are so far, I believe, 70,000
That's
children,
unbelievable.
and
you've been
caregivers,
tracking them
primarily
since
moms.
birth.
And all those children have been tracked since birth. Some of those studies started long before ECHO, but universities around the country brought their children where they had, I think the requirement is they had to have biomarkers from birth. Did they have saliva or a blood sample so that they could look at that and then track them? So they're actually already adults in this study, but they started prior to the baby toolbox being around. So we don't have this kind of measures of child development. There have been other types of measurement systems that are out there. They just take much longer to give and are much more expensive. So the baby toolbox allows these kind of measures to be used in studies inexpensively and with low burden, right? You can't take a child and give them tens of hours of tests.
Right.
And so the baby toolbox allows that to be short, and then we see it being used in schools to help detect would children benefit from early intervention? How do we identify that child?
Is this baby toolbox going to be offered to the general public? Is it going to be widespread? Is it going to cost money? What's the future for it?
So it is an app in the App Store, but it does require what's called a Class B certification. That's somebody who can interpret test results. The reason we don't release it directly to parents is you see this number is off a little bit. And as a parent, I would say, oh my goodness, what's up with my child? Just like the hearing test that you saw. But that doesn't necessarily mean very much. It's tracking it over time. So it's available currently in the iPad store. It does require, you can look at look at some of the materials there, but it does require a person being a psychologist, a neuropsychologist, a child educational psychologist, somebody. It's easy. It's relatively easy. It does require some training to give these tests, but most importantly, somebody who can look at the results and say, that's meaningful for your child. Nope, this is something to watch. Don't panic. And that's why we limit its use and are not giving it to parents directly at this time.
Richard Gershon, thank you so much. This is fascinating. I will be keeping my fingers crossed that this funding never runs out so that we can get great data for many, many years to come, sir. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this
Thanks
is
for having
answering
me.
some of the questions we've always had as parents, the impact of the sun and microplastics and whatever diet they're on. You know what I mean? We need good, solid data. So they're doing really, really great stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go to a quick break again right now. But when we come back, we've been talking about scammers a lot this week. I've been getting like I'm getting like 2 or 3 calls a day.
Oh no, they got your
It is
number.
so annoying. I'm getting these voicemails. Anthony, this is Eric. It's regarding the GSA. Give me a call back.
Yes. I always get the ones from like the UPS. They're like, oh yeah,
UPS?
you've got a package that can't be delivered. Click this link to get.
And then I have to punch in the number they leave into Google, and then you see, oh, it's a scam. Other people have reported the same number. Anyway, a new book is exposing the red flags of scammers and grifters. It's called Anatomy of a Con Artist. And we are going to be joined by the author, Jonathan Walton, when we come back. Stay with us.
10:49, just about 10:50. Welcome back. So we are talking about a new book that exposes the red flags of scammers and grifters. It's called Anatomy of a Con Artist, the 14 red flags to spot scammers, grifters, and thieves. Written by Emmy-winning journalist turned vigilante, con buster, Jonathan Walton. Jonathan, can you hear us? Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
I can hear you. Good morning.
Where are you coming to us from?
I am in Houston now doing this press tour. I just got off live radio and TV over here, but I wanted to check in with you guys, say hello, and thank you for having me on this morning to talk about Anatomy of a Con Artist.
Pleasure is ours. I was just telling Caitlin, I've been getting voicemails all week from a guy who calls himself Eric, and he says Anthony, like he's my best friend and my agent, saying, this is about the GSA. Give me a call back at 513 whatever. Of course, I Google the number, and it's a scammer, and I just want to, how do I get this guy back? You actually did this.
Get him back.
Yeah.
Well, listen, a technique that works really well, you just have to start doing the dirty talk and get into it super quick, and they will put you on a list to do not call. You have to really be into it, pretend you into it. I do this, and it cuts the calls down 95%. They put me on a list, like, this guy's a freak, don't call him back.
Perfect.
But it works.
All right, I'm doing it. I'm going to start talking dirty to him.
That is so
okay.
Really dirty.
He'll never bother me again.
1.2 seconds.
I love it. Okay, we're already getting good takeaways from Jonathan. Hey, will you run us through how you got started on this track?
Oh my gosh, I was a reality TV producer. I still am. I've done shows like Shark Tank and American Ninja Warrior. And it was while I was working on Shark Tank that I met this delightful woman who was a new neighbor. I'm a married gay guy, so there was nothing sexual about it, but she quickly became my friend. At the time, part of my family had disowned me for being gay. I hadn't been home for Christmas in about 8 years, and she pounced with her story. Well, my family disowned me too, she said, because they're trying to get me disinherited. So we became very close very quickly, and that's how most con artists operate, because people tell me all the time, you're such a smart guy. How did you get conned? And like I say in the book, con artists don't outsmart you. They outfeel you. They use your emotions against you. They figure out what you're lacking. They figure out how to make a close bond with you. And her family disowning her bonded me to her really quick. Long story short, we became best friends. She was like a sister to me. And over the course of 4 years, she conned me out of close to $100,000. And it pains me to say this, I was helping an Irish heiress get her inheritance. I want to punch myself in the face when I hear myself say that, but that's the truth. And while she was scamming me, she was scamming dozens and dozens and dozens of other people with she was impersonating a psychologist. She had a dozen patients in Los Angeles that she was learning their secrets and using those secrets to scam them. She impersonated lawyers. She was a psychic. She was a witch. She was the manager of a hockey team. She impersonated Jennifer freaking Aniston. This woman was a genius. Tons of spinning plates. She got a lot of money from a lot of people, but nobody went public. But I did. I got her. I went to police. They laughed at me, turned me away. I started my own investigation. I put my journalism skills to use. I put my TV producer skills to use. I uncovered 46 other victims. I built a criminal case so strong, police couldn't ignore me. And I learned the hard way, and I put this in the book. Pitching a criminal case to police is like pitching a television show to a network executive. You got to make it sexy. You got to have characters. You got to have evidence. Then you got to Vanna White all the evidence. I teach people how to do this because 99% of the victims who reach out to me for help, police turn them away. And I teach them how to build a case and go back and get taken seriously. There's a trick to it. So I got my con artist jailed, and then I got her extradited. And then I was written up in the New York Times.
Great job.
They wrote a profile on me. How crazy is that? But, people started beating a path to my door, other victims of other con artists asking for my help. So while I'm producing reality shows during the week, some people play golf on the weekends. I hunt con artists. So I started investigating all these cases, and lo and behold, it hit me one day. I'm like, wait a minute. The same techniques that all these scammers are using to scam all these victims are identical to the techniques my con artists used on me. So I started making notes of them. And red flag number 1 in my book, they offer to help. Most con artists enter your life offering to help. And here's the thing, The scammer you spoke about earlier at the top of the segment, this guy calling you on the phone,
Right.
those are relatively easy to spot. I'm talking about professional con artists. There are millions of them. They will get to know you. They're the new boyfriend, the new girlfriend, the new neighbor, the new coworker, the new friend. They get into your life. They get you to love them or love a cause they've created. Remember, con artists don't outsmart you. They outfeel you. They will outfeel you, and they will take your money. And if you think it can happen to you, join the club. I thought it couldn't happen to me. I thought there's no way I can get conned. But with that attitude, you're exactly who they're looking for.
Where is your fake
Wow.
Jennifer Aniston today, and has she reached out to you?
Oh, well, so here's what happened. I started, after police turned me away, I started the blog. I started finding all these victims. One person called me, was a police detective from Northern Ireland. She had lived in Northern Ireland for 8 years, scammed a bunch of
Jonathan?
people, disappeared into the ether. Yes.
Jonathan, I am so sorry. We have to go to breaking news right now. There has been a
breaking
shooting
news.
at a Catholic school. You know, as a former producer, that this is important when this
Yeah.
happens. A book is called Anatomy of a Con Artist, the 14 Red Flags to Spot Scammers, Grifters, and Thieves. His name is Jonathan Walton. There's a copy of the book. Get it. It's sure to be interesting. All right, we're going to break in to Chicago Now right now. Again, a shooting has happened at a Catholic school in Minneapolis, I should say. Authorities are addressing the media right now. Let's listen in.
Think of this as if it were your own. Every one of us needs to be wrapping our arms around these families, giving them every ounce that we can muster. These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary. And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. These are the sort of basic assurances that every family should have, every step of the day, regardless of where they are in our country. I'm so deeply saddened, and I'm so sorry to the families that I know are suffering right now. My ask is to everyone, stand by them, love them. These families have forever been changed, and we've all been changed with them. We need to do everything possible to support them through this time. We have a family resource center that has been set up. I'm grateful for all of the law enforcement agencies from a number of different jurisdictions, and all the different departmental support that we've received. They're going to be working tirelessly. There's also a family resource center that is being set up as we speak to make sure that we're there for everybody. Again, to the families that are suffering, to those that have experienced loss, I'm so deeply sorry. We're going to be with you every step of the way. We love you. This kind of act of evil should never happen, and it happens far too often. The chief will provide additional details.
My name is Brian O'Hara, B-R-I-A-N, O''H-A-R-A. I am the Minneapolis police chief. Earlier today, just before 8:30 a.m., our city experienced an unthinkable tragedy. Minneapolis police officers responded to a report of a shooting at a mass that was happening at the Annunciation Roman Catholic Church on the block behind me. This worship service was marking the first week of school for children that are attending the Annunciation Catholic School. During the mass, a gunman approached on the outside, on the side of the building, and began firing a rifle through the church windows towards the children sitting in the pews at the mass. Shooting through the windows, he struck children and worshipers that were inside the building. The shooter was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. This was a deliberate act of violence against innocent children and other people worshiping. The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible. Police officers from the Minneapolis Police Department immediately responded, entered the church, and attempted to provide first aid and rescue some of the children that were hiding throughout the building, while other first responders came and EMS responded to rush victims to nearby hospitals. 2 young children, ages 8 and 10, were killed where they sat in the pews. Their parents have been notified. 17 other people were injured, 14 of them being children. 2 of those children are in critical condition. The coward who fired these shots ultimately took his own life in the rear of the church. Our hearts are broken for the families who have lost their children, for these young lives that are now fighting to recover, and for our entire community that has been so deeply traumatized by this senseless attack. We will stand together to protect our children, our schools, and our houses of worship. This deliberate act of violence is just a sign of cruelty that is beyond comprehension. Our hearts are broken for everyone that's been affected by this tragedy. As we begin the difficult path of healing, I want the community to know this, that even in the face of such evil, the Minneapolis Police Department and all of our law enforcement partners stand with our community. We stand with these families and with this parish. We will continue to be here for you. With that, the investigation is obviously in its preliminary stages, and I will attempt to take some questions to provide further information.
Chief, what can you tell us about the suspect in this case? How old was he? Any kind of motivation? Any notes or any other information that he left behind?
So we were looking, the question was, what can be said about the shooter? We believe it is one suspect, a sole shooter. We believe he is deceased. He is in his early 20s, does not have an extensive known criminal history, and we are looking through information left behind to try and determine some type of motive. Yeah.
How many kids at the school? How many kids at the school?
How many children? I don't have an exact, the question was how many children at the school. There were dozens of children inside the mass at the time. I don't have an exact count. The children have been relocated into the school, which is where their families are reunifying with them.
Other than the weapon,
Reg.
Other than the weapon, was the shooter a student, former student? Was he a former employee? Do we know that?
The question was, do we know if if the shooter was a former school employee or a former student? We don't have that information.
Did he leave anything behind other than the weapon?
There's a vehicle. The question was anything left behind? There's a vehicle that we believe that the suspect used that is being searched, and we will be conducting other searches related to this.
Where was it parked?
Inside the parking lot here.
Yep.
There was some neighbors who said that the door to the church had been barricaded.
Yep.
Is that correct?
So the question was, neighbors had said that the door to the church had been barricaded. The shooter approached on one side of the church building, and on that side, at least 2 doors, it appears there had been like a 2x4 placed. So not all of the doors around the building, but on the side where the shooter did fire.
And on the outside?
On the outside, yes. The question was there any explosives? There were reports of that. There were no explosives or improvised devices that we found. I do believe there was one I guess you would call it a smoke bomb, like not an explosive, but a sort of a firework that would release smoke.
And which side of the building? North, south?
The side that is closest to us, here, on this side, yep.
Was this incident related also at these nearby homes?
I don't have specific information on that I can release. The question was, is he dead from a gunshot wound? The answer is yes. We believe he took his own life in the parking lot.
Was this outside or both inside that he was shooting?
The question was he shooting outside and inside? He was absolutely shooting outside of the building on the side of the church, inside through the windows. It appears he may have gone inside, but I don't believe we've located any casings inside the building. So I'm not certain if he fired also while inside. It appears, if not all, most of the shooting happened outside the building.
Is this shooting related to any other shootings that happened in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, Taylor's asking, is this related to any of the other shootings? This does not appear to be related to any other shooting in the city.
Do you know approximately how many rounds were fired?
The question was how many rounds? I would say it's in the dozens. We don't have an exact count. There's a sidewalk on the outside as well as a grassy area. So obviously we are going through and taking our time to process the scene.
Was he firing just one weapon, like the rifle?
The question was he firing one weapon? We believe he had fired all three. He had a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol.
Chief, was this individual licensed to conceal and carry? Did he have any?
Were the weapons, was he lawfully carrying the weapons? I don't have that information. And I don't have any information on any significant criminal history either.
Was he dressed at all in any tactical type of gear or anything?
It appeared he had some black clothing on, his cargo type pants. I guess you could interpret that as, however you like.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for helping us to get the information out today. We have a lot more work
questions?
that needs to be done. We will return back later today to provide more details as they become available, and we'll let you know how you can know about that in the moments to come. Thank you.
Okay.
How can the public help?
That's it. Thank you.
Once again, folks, if you have further inquiries you want to send.
All right, there you have it.
Welcome back to Chicago Now. This is officially the 11 o'clock hour. Anita, I know that you have been following that news all morning long.
That's right. We've been listening into the news conference there in Minneapolis. Horrible situation that's taken place there, a shooting that took place at the Annunciation School this morning. There were kids who were in mass. This is a Catholic school. They were in mass before getting to their studies for the day. And a shooter who was in his 20s came from the outside of the school, fired several shots. There are 17 people hurt, 2 children, unfortunately, who have passed away. The gunman took his own life in the parking lot there. So early stages of this investigation, obviously not what any parent or really any citizen wants to hear as the school year just gets underway, but it is a situation, a developing one, that we will be watching throughout the rest of the day. So obviously that is a very heavy start to their day and for our day as well, and we'll talk more about it, but there are some, bright things to talk about as well in the world, that are happening every day, and of course there are some big ones that we're going to go over this morning.
Yeah, so we have a couple things that we're going to get to here in a bit. How federal changes to SNAP will put pressure on Illinois food systems, so that's kind of another big topic. Also, a Deerfield native, he's kind of changing the game a little bit with a new athletic shoe line, and players are already taking notice. But first, Anita Blanton, we have some big news.
Yeah, well, I don't know the biggest of which, well, I was excited about the shoes already, but the biggest of which would be Travis Kelce proposing to Taylor Swift, and she said yes. So we have executive producer Marissa here with us right now, and I think we have Chris Kwasinski, who's also on a Zoom with us, who's going to be joining. Hello.
He's our sports producer, one of our great sports producers, but he's also a Swiftie as well, so we had to bring him in.
He's multi-talented.
Oh my goodness.
So let's talk about your overall reaction to this big news.
Excited, of course. But so Chris and I both spent time in Missouri. Did you ever think Taylor Swift would get proposed to in Lee's Summit, Missouri?
Oh my goodness. Lee's Summit, no. I actually was there quite a bit for assignments, kind of going back and forth, and it was weird when I saw that it was in Lee Summit. I was like, no way! Like, are we connected? Like, I feel like I'm part of this now. But no, it was interesting. It was really fun to see, and it's kind of cool to kind of have that connection.
So is there some connection for her to Lee Summit for people at home who don't know?
That's where Travis lives.
That's where he lives.
She
okay.
lives with Travis. It's right outside Kansas City. It's a suburb of Kansas City, so yeah.
Okay, so this garden, absolutely beautiful.
Wow,
Let's talk about the setting of the proposal. Did she get a paper ring?
It's like right out of one of her songs, right? Like,
Really?
and that's what she said about this whole relationship. It's like something out of her song. We know the ring. Travis co-designed it with a female jeweler in New York City.
Okay.
I have look at my chills. Yeah. I don't know why I'm just so happy. I have like straight up chills right
and
now.
that's so many people even that aren't Swifties were just like, I am so happy for her.
Yeah.
And I know last time Chris and I were on, I know Tia was like, what if they're already married? Or you guys were-
Yeah.
And we knew no, but I don't think we ever thought we'd get a public post just on a Tuesday, Chris.
And not just a public post, but one that really gripped multiple worlds. Like the way that I found out was because ESPN's NFL reporter Adam Schefter, one of the most plugged in NFL writers in the world, probably was the one tweeting about it. I believe it was like right at 11 a.m. And we're like, I found out, but like Adam Schefter, really? Like he's breaking multiple forms of news. Like this is something that just gripped multiple. I guess multiple worlds, and I think it's really cool to see the trickle down effect from there. And it was a very weird day in the sports world too. Obviously, the NFL had cut down day. There was a lot of emotions to balance with that. The Bears are going with so much stuff, but to start with this, it was really interesting to see the world react to it because it wasn't just Adam. It was so many other athletes. It was a lot of other brands. It was a lot of other top NFL reporters too that were giving their thoughts, kind of weighing in, being like, hey, like this is pretty nuts. And it kind of is.
It definitely is. And a bunch of brands, like he said, were like jumping on it. Like I know, like I think Soul Cycle said like they're only going to play Taylor Swift all day yesterday.
That makes sense.
Everybody immediately was like, all right, how do we capitalize on this? I know we had a story, and it's up on our website, about a local bakery doing like Taylor Swift themed baked goods yesterday to celebrate the engagement.
That's so cute. So do we know any details, like what day it happened, how it kind of went down?
Yeah, so Travis's dad kind of spilled the deets to
hopefully with some approval.
Probably, I'm guessing, to a news outlet in Cleveland. So when we came on last was after the podcast episode of New Heights where she announced a new album. That was taped on August 10th. It came out on the 13th, but so Ed Kelce revealed that this happened right after they filmed the podcast on August 10th.
Wait, okay, so and this, Chris, clarify this for me. If that was August 10th, we just saw Taylor at Travis's game against the Bears on Friday. So they were already engaged?
Wait, the doppelganger?
No, it was a doppelganger.
It was a doppelganger,
Anita? Yes, it was a doppelganger.
I heard it through the grapevine. Oh my.
Yeah, everyone in our household was like looking at the TV. Is that her?
Because we were watching to see if she
I was like, now wait a minute.
Wait, does Anita know something I don't?
Oh, no, listen. No. I was
It was a dead ringer. It was a dead ringer, though.
Oh, right. I'm like, oh, they really got over on it. So really all of this has been very authentic.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's go back to.
That's a doppelganger right there. Isn't that
this is
nuts?
The doppelganger right
That
there?
is nutty.
Yes. Pull the tape.
Do we know anything about this woman?
Oh my goodness.
Do we know anything about that
I just
woman?
know she did the bangs and the lipstick. And,
she got it down, honey. She got it down.
And made sure that she was in the. box,
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back and just kind of go back through their relationship. But they've been together for 2 years now. And when we first started to see her pop up in the box, a lot of people thought it was just a publicity stunt.
Well, and remember, that was at the Bears game. The Bears got spanked that day.
Don't remind us.
But that was that game, and that was crazy. And that's like when everybody knew it was real. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, she's here. And then they drove off in the getaway car, and it was like, her fans were like, this is exactly what she's wanted. Like, it was real to us. I definitely get why people thought it was publicity.
We're already getting a wrap, and we have so much to get through still.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about the ring for a second, though? Because it's an old mind, brilliant cut. When you saw it, it's huge, it's beautiful. Did you think that was going to be her? I mean, she's such
Very
a class
vintage.
act.
The design, yes, a lot of people were surprised at how big it was, but I mean, you got a millionaire and a billionaire. Come on, let her have
Makes
a
sense.
big rock.
Do we know how much it costs yet? Do we know how much it costs?
I don't think so. People are speculating.
Speculating.
And how much are they speculating?
Yeah,
everything from $500,000 to a couple million.
Okay, well, the jury is still out. Both of them have a lot, but I'm wishing them the absolute best.
Me
I
too.
think all of us are. It's just beautiful to see their love story continue. No bad blood here. So we'll continue to root them
I heard that.
on.
I heard that. Oh, thank you guys so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Chris, maybe next time you can actually show up. We don't have to zoom in with you.
Busy.
That sounded way too sassy.
Maybe
I didn't
when
want
they
to sound
actually
that
have
sassy.
the wedding, like for the actual wedding, you know.
Yeah, they're going to need a reporter
Engagement,
there.
you can be on Zoom,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
for the actual
Interesting.
wedding, you're going to need to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys so much. We're going to switch gears, slow down the show a little bit, talk about we're going to be joined by Block Club Chicago. They're talking about a recent article that has to do with a hospital over in one of our suburbs. So we'll be right back with that.
Welcome back, everybody. So we've got more to talk about now, kind of getting into more of the serious stuff here. And we're going to start up with a story out of Portage Park.
Yeah, so this is kind of a big headline, I guess, for folks if they're looking online, coming across this article. We're talking to Block Club Chicago because a hospital in Portage Park has some referring to it as a death hospital.
Yeah, really hard to hear that term, and a lot of hospitals that start to go through some issues can certainly go through that phase. Let's go ahead and bring in our friend Manny Ramos. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate the time.
So a lot of times when a hospital does get this kind of unofficial designation here, it is because, like I was saying, that they are going through maybe some financial difficulties or some things that cause the community to say this place needs better care for the people that they're caring for. So give us an explanation of where they are with things and what we're seeing on this screen.
Yeah, so what we're seeing on the screen at the moment are some photos that have been shared with me from staff, from patients, and all around, essentially outlining some of the issues. So you're seeing water, falling from the ceiling. You're seeing bodily fluid out in the open, as well as patient food trays sitting on biohazard waste bins. Those last two things sort of present an issue for patients in terms of cross-contamination, the spread of infectious diseases. And what we've been reporting on in this story is sort of this hospital on the northwest side that is a for-profit safety net hospital that serves primarily low-income patients who rely on government-sponsored insurance, such as Medicare and Medicaid, and the issues that they're facing and the fear that they have for going to this hospital. And as you mentioned, in terms of financial issues that the hospital has faced, that is well documented, and we sort of examined those financial records through their Medicare cost report filings.
What has the hospital's response been?
The hospital essentially said, they need more financial help. They claim Medicare Advantage reimbursements have been extremely slow or non-existent, which causes the further decline in their revenue shares. And as well as they just can't really talk about the individual cases or anecdotes that have been shared with me. So they wouldn't comment necessarily on some of those more concerning issues that the patients have shared.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, when you get a term like death hospital, that means these issues aren't anything new. So what would be new is the big beautiful bill, as it's being called. How does that factor into concerns moving forward?
Yeah, so the big beautiful bill essentially, it could possibly, well, more than likely will, affect large shares of Medicare and Medicaid patients who rely on safety net hospitals such as this. And this hospital, again, which, most of its funding is through government-sponsored insurances. So with less and less patients having insurances from Medicare and Medicaid, this puts them uniquely at a disadvantage that could continue to sort of continue what experts have said is a financial death spiral, and lead to either more safety concerns, more problems within the hospital, and ultimately closure.
We look at some of these pictures that are from the hospital, and you have to think, how did they get away with this for so long? Because I know in your article you mentioned an incident that happened back in 2022, was it?
Yeah, so the story opens up with a 27-year-old woman who fainted at home and was sick for about several days. She was diagnosed with the flu at the hospital days earlier, but when she fainted and she was experiencing shortness of breath and she was struggling to breathe, her family called an ambulance to sort of help, and they ended up taking her to Community First Medical Center. While she was there, her conditions was never medically assessed. She was never triaged properly, but she was given an ID badge on her wrist. She ended up sitting in that waiting area for about 40 minutes, falling in and out of consciousness as her family tried to console her. Her family members went to the triage center where the nurses are usually stationed, seemingly asking for help. And then finally, when the nurse arrived, again, 40 minutes later, it was ultimately too late. She ended up passing away in the waiting area, and within about an hour and a half of first entering the hospital.
I think that's a worst case scenario type of situation. Obviously, you don't want to hear about that happening anywhere. I understand they've also had a lot of facility shortages and elevators that were out and things of that nature as well. If their funding is such a big issue here, what changes could be made, and how could that happen? I mean, how do they get to turning things around? Because obviously there's concern if it shuts down, even for the community, if they lose that facility.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, this is a safety net hospital. It's crucial for the community. And whether or not how this hospital can stay open, I'm not a politician. This is obviously something that this funding needs to come from the federal and state level. That really needs to address that. And so I can't really provide any kind of conclusions on what can help. But with that being said, a hospital that is serving low-income patients shouldn't provide this kind of service regardless. Low-income folks shouldn't be subjected to this kind of care.
Right.
And it's something that the state should, think critically on examining further.
Well, do you think that since you're shining a light on this, that more attention and more resources will be put towards a hospital, or do you see things declining even more and maybe closing? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't say to that either. What I can say is, speaking with dozens of patients as well as staff who work there, they're extremely concerned about how this hospital is being managed at this particular moment. Some stress that they've actually want this hospital closed. Others, are want the hospital to be serving the community as it was promised when the owners took over.
Yeah, Manny Ramos of Block Club Chicago. We always appreciate this partnership that we have with Block Club Chicago because of the reporting that you all are able to do. Thank you for sharing what you've learned with us, and please continue to keep us updated. We appreciate it.
Thank you again for having me on.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And those folks definitely deserve better when you're going to any type of medical facility. And that's what's happening at that particular hospital. But of course, healthcare is very broad, and so you can have a facility that's really in trouble, and obviously, like we said, the community that needs it, but at the same time needs better care from that facility. And then we're also talking about protecting people with disabilities today as well. These are both vulnerable populations, if you really think about it, for different reasons, but very vulnerable populations.
Yeah. Okay, so coming up next after the break, we're going to talk to an author of a new book, Silent No Longer, Advancing the Fight for Disability Rights, coming up. Welcome back to Chicago Now, a new topic that's also kind of relates to what Block Club Chicago was talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about dignity in care, whether that's people who are going to the hospital or people who are in another vulnerable population, people with disabilities, or we like to say differently abled people who are seeking care as well. So let's go ahead and bring in Robert Stack. He is the president and CEO of Community Options and the author of a new book that we certainly hope people will seek out, Silent No Longer, Advancing the Fight for Disability Rights. Robert, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
I greatly appreciate you having me on your show. This is absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, and really important topic as well. When we're addressing people who, in some instances, maybe can't speak for themselves or fight for themselves. You've stepped into that space here. So this is about for-profit care. And tell me why that specifically is your area of interest here.
Well, thank you again. Community Options is a nonprofit organization, and what we do is develop housing and employment for people with disabilities. And I've been doing this for several decades. And the issue is that we're a nonprofit, and so we've done this in order to help people with disabilities, and it's become a very important idea. So what has happened, so just to break it down, people with disabilities over the last 30 years have been marginalized. They've been put in large institutions. They've been put in nursing homes. And when I say nursing homes, I mean children that are under the age of 20 who've been put in nursing homes. And there's well over 200,000 people with disabilities that have been stuck in nursing homes just because they have intellectual disabilities, autism, cerebral palsy, etc. So this has been a very serious issue. And what we've been doing with a lot of other agencies is working to get people out of institutions that are state-run, institutions like Misericordia, to put people into the community so they can have a small house and do what you and I would do, which is get a job, enjoy life, learn how to cook, etc. And this has become a very wonderful thing. And everyone talks about deinstitutionalization, and it's very important. However, what's happened is over the last several years, private equity kind of reared its ugly head. And I'm not against private equity when it comes to, buying computer companies or flying jets or whatever. But when it comes to people with disabilities, what happens is they have been marginalized, and they have been also exploited, where they make money off the backs of people with disabilities, and it's been very, very bad. And they have over 1,000 agencies like mine. They would come into and say, we're going to give you money, we'll buy your company, and you'll become private equity. Of course, when they came to me, I said, no, I wouldn't do that. And there's over 1,000 agencies that are similar to this.
Robert, can you share some maybe examples of this kind of abuse, neglect, financial exploitation you've seen in for-profit facilities?
Sure. One of the things that's, first of all, there have been a lot of for-profit institutions that have literally been closed down. They've been closed down because of significant investigations that have been made to show that they're providing very, very bad care. And those were in states like Florida, certainly states like Massachusetts, certainly states like New Hampshire, and a variety of other states. And they've literally come in and saw things that have been going on, both with the private equity and also in state-run institutions. It's just terrible. One of the institutions that I saw, for example, they would literally use what they call aversion therapy. And the aversion therapy would be a cattle prod where they put batteries in it and they would shock people, and that's how they would get them to move around. And this is as current as this year. Or they also would squirt ammonia in their face, or they would tie them up on conference tables or roll them up in mats. And I physically saw this less than a year ago, and it's been really disheartening. When you showed my book, which is the greatest book in the world.
Oh, right. Of course, the author would say that.
Yes, the guy that's on the front there, who's in a tie and a really nice-looking guy. When we met him, they had flown him from Massachusetts to Texas, where I was at the time, and on a private plane, because they had they were under state orders to do this, and they literally landed in a private plane, and they opened up the door and they kicked him onto the tarmac like a sack of potatoes, and he was in handcuffs and leg irons. I felt like it was a rerun of Silence of the Lambs, only it wasn't a movie, it was reality.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, we were able to get this guy. He is now not on any kind of aversion kind of conditioning or any kind of capital punishment. He goes to rodeos, and he enjoys going to this. He loves going to get fast food. Who doesn't? And he's been doing a tremendous integration into the community. So we've been able to get people like him into wonderful programs, and that's one of the things we're trying to fight.
Well, Robert, we certainly appreciate you sharing what you've seen firsthand, and also more of these stories. Again, Because your book is called Silent No Longer. Speaking up is a really big part of it. Having someone to speak on your behalf sometimes is a really big part of it. Having someone to advance, as you say here, your fight, maybe when you can't. You know, you mentioned Misericordia, and I do want to just point out, you know, we've gone to Misericordia many a times and spoken with the folks over there, and obviously everyone's going to have a different opinion of what you see there and you know, what your experience is. But a lot of times family members feel at their wits' end, like they have no help. They're trying to figure out who could step in and give the care, the right care to their family member that maybe they can't themselves. So if you'll maybe speak to where families end up in making these decisions, because I don't want to shame anybody for the decision that they may make if they feel they're making the right decision, but speak to how people end up in that situation where it's like they're trying to make the best call, but there really aren't a whole lot of options.
Let me tell you about a guy named Bernard. Bernard is a guy who happens to be blind, and he happens to be intellectual disabilities, and he lived in a facility very, very similar to Misericordia. And when I met him, I said, "What are you doing, Bernard?" And he says, "Well, I take these pens, these plastic pens, and I put them in a box, and I put that box in a bigger box, and I put that box in a bigger box." And I said, "Well, why do you do that?" He goes, "It's ridiculous, isn't it? I don't know why." Anyway, I said, "How would you like to live in a small house in the community that by the way, would save the taxpayers a tremendous amount of money?" But I didn't explain that to him. And I said, "How would you like to live in a small house in the community? And we'll see if we can help you live a better life." So he said, "Great, I would be interested in doing that." And his family, they said, "Well, let's try it." They said, we didn't have any alternatives before, because when Bernard was younger, that was all they told us that we were able to do. So I did that. And we took him out, and he lived in a small house, and now he lives in a condominium, and he is a receptionist, and he answers the phone.
Wow.
And he's doing a tremendous job. And I said to him, "What did you hate about living in the institution?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Robert, I had to take ice cold showers and with a lot of other people." So I said, "Wow." And I said, "What do you like now?" He goes, "I like listening to the television. I like listening to the sports page, and I like the way that I can hear all of the movie channels and watch them." And he now he lives in a small condo, as I said. He has a job. He makes about $16 an hour. We helped him with his down payment, and he owns his own little 2-bedroom condo. He has a little elliptical machine, and he does really, really well. This is a person who parents, and I said, what did you think of your parents when they put you there? And he said, "Robert, that's what the doctors told him was the best place for me to be." But now he's doing fine, and they're happy, he's happy, and that's all we're doing. We're just asking people to have an open mind. It's not there's no magic pill. There's no answer to any kind of person who has a disability. Certainly, I applaud the people that work in many of these facilities. They work very hard, and they're tremendous people. But what we try to do is come up with an alternative where people can be more taxpayers and tax burdens. We try to come up more of an alternative where people can not only work in the community, but be part of it, to enjoy it. There's a direct relationship between the severity of your disability and your level of loneliness.
Yeah,
well,
Robert,
if you can get out and be with other people, it's in your best interest. Especially people that are different and people you can identify with.
Sure. Robert, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you do too. Quickly, because we're running out of time, where can people find your book?
It's on Amazon, and it's also on Barnes and Noble, and you can get it anywhere. And it's robertstack.org. So just go to robertstack.org, and you can find it on my website.
Two handsome guys on there. Thank you so much.
Great chatting with you. Thank you for what you do.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Talking about SNAP benefits, more than 1.8 million people use those.
Yeah, and in
here
some
in our
ways
state.
there's a through line here. You know, in a lot of ways there's a through line. Just like he was saying, they step in and try to help people who are disadvantaged in some way. That's the same thing that SNAP is really for a lot of people. It's a lifeline.
Well, we have the big, beautiful bill act that's coming to fruition, and it's going to cause a lot of changes for the benefits related to farm subsidies. So we're gonna bring in someone with the Greater Chicago Food Depository. They serve over 800 pantries, I think it is, and they're already in demand, and they're probably gonna see more demand. We're gonna bring in Manny Lee. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
You know, we've come over and we've worked with you all right there. We've seen the amazing things that you all are able to do for so many people. I was amazed, like looking up, seeing the actual apparatus there and how you all are able to make this work for thousands of people in this area in Chicagoland. Tell us what the difference would be with the changes that are on the table.
Yeah, well, first, if I could just talk a little bit about the need and why this is really needed right now. Currently, 1 in 5 Chicago area households are experiencing food insecurity. Our networks are serving more guests than they have ever done before. In FY24 alone, our network of pantries, as you mentioned, we have over 800 of them, served a record-breaking 2.4 million households in our 46-year history, and that was surpassing the numbers served at the height of the pandemic, if you can think about that. And so the need is real between elevated food prices and rent increases. Electricity bills are going up, and families are really being challenged to put food on the table. And so the hard reality is the food insecurity is going to get worse in the coming months, as you mentioned, as the catastrophic changes to the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, that was contained in the latest federal budget bill when they go into effect.
Yeah, you know, you all reach so many different organizations. As I said, we were happy to be able to partner with you all and come over there, but there are so many others, banks and other organizations that come in to partner with you all as well. Talk about how the community can help you all better serve those who are in need.
Yeah, so people can always come and support us. You can either please support your local food bank and your local food pantry. So you can do that by either volunteering, look up and find your local food pantry that's in your neighborhood. They are always looking for volunteers. You can also come to here to our warehouse in Archer Heights, just like Fox 32 Chicago did a few months ago, to come and help us repack food so that we can get out to our pantries. You can also donate. We always need donations so that we can purchase. We actually purchase a lot of the food that comes into our warehouse so that we can get out to our pantries at no cost to them. And we also ask that people advocate. You can go to www.chicagosfoodbank.org/advocate to help us to kind of, advocate for anti-hunger policies at the federal and state level.
You know, we have a stat that we heard earlier that for every meal made possible by the Food Depository, which is great, the work that you guys are doing, SNAP provides 9. That, poses the question, how will you be able to meet this demand?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Our work just became that much more difficult because of the budget bill that was passed. But together we will rise to meet this moment. You're right. SNAP is our most nutritional. It's a nutritional lifeline for millions of families in the U.S. And as you mentioned, approximately 1.9 million Illinois residents who are all living on limited income. And for every meal that a food bank like the Food Depository provides, SNAP actually provides the equivalent of 9 meals. So it is a really efficient program. And we already saw at the height of the pandemic, SNAP lifted 4.2 million people in the US above the poverty line. And it reduced poverty by 10%. And it cut child poverty by 14%.
What do you think are some of the maybe misconceptions about SNAP and about you all's work that people have that are widely known but maybe misunderstood?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there is a big misconception, I feel, in the country as well as in Illinois that SNAP participants are not employed. Well, that's simply not true. From what we see, and according to the USDA numbers from the USDA, in 2023, 55% of SNAP households with children included at least one full-time working adult. The remaining percentage of SNAP households are usually people, for example, children who are not expected to work, or people who are retired, people with disabilities who are unable to work. And so it's the kinds of people that we are helping and households that we are helping with SNAP that I think is a common misconception. So I'm glad you asked that.
You know, I'm so bummed I wasn't able to come to the food packing that we did for Fox 32. You might have kind of mentioned it already, but how much of a difference does it make for groups like this to come to the food depository and help out?
Yeah, for example, a lot of the food that comes to our warehouse here in Archer Heights come to us in huge tons of, big packs and tons. And so, for example, big boxes of potatoes and fruit and produce. And so we always need to repack those into more manageable portions so that we can get out to our network of pantries, so that families can then go to the pantries and pick them up and then take them home. It's no use to give tons and tons, thousands of tons of potatoes to someone who is perhaps going to their local pantry on a bus and needing to get that food home. So, many hands make light work. We always say that, and we always welcome volunteers to come and help, but also our local pantries also need help as well.
Yeah, and maybe on that note, because I know people are watching from many different walks of life, not every organization that comes in will do the same thing. Talk about some of the opportunities that you have available for people to be of assistance.
Yeah, I mean, so the volunteers that we have come in to help with repacking, they are also individuals, there's families, there's also corporations that do team building, exercises like that, for, at a day with us so that they can help repack and give back that way. We also have a lot of other opportunities, such as, volunteer drivers. We need drivers, not the trucks, but the smaller vans to help get, other, things out and food items out to our pantries, and we have ambassadors who go out to help advocate about our food equity and to help with food rescue, as well as we have a huge team of food equity ambassadors who help us go down to Springfield, go to DC to kind of advocate for policy changes.
Yeah. If you want more information, I know we brought up a clip of your website. Is that where they should go to see if they can volunteer, to learn more information too?
Yes. ChicagosFoodBank.org. You can find out how to donate, how to volunteer. You can book a volunteer session, as well as anyone who is watching who is in need of assistance. Please do not hesitate. Go onto our website. There is a tool on there called the Find Food tool, and you can look up by your location, by your zip code, to find out the location of your closest pantry, so that you can go and get food at no cost. With these SNAP changes that are about to happen, food insecurity is about to skyrocket, and we are really certainly bracing ourselves and needing to make sure that people are aware that this is happening, and that we are here to help.
Well, Manny, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for raising awareness. Thank you for what you do on a regular basis. You are truly a blessing to the greater Chicagoland community. So thank you. Great seeing your face, lady.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, have a good day. We'll see you back here again.
Thank you.
Okay.
They do great
work.
They do
Amazing
work.
Like I said, I'm so bummed I wasn't able to go to the food packing.
I'm sure we'll go again. It was too much fun not to.
But that's another point. When you actually go there, you're learning so much more about what the food depository does, about our area, the needs that come with it. So that must have been a great experience.
It absolutely was, and I look forward to the next time we team up with them and just having her back on. She's such a wealth of information about what's going on in our area. So we have more to talk about, but we'll go to a break and we'll catch you up on the other side of this break. everybody. It's 11:50 now. Welcome back. It's our final segment, and I feel like I'm excited because it's one of my favorite topics ever, and that would be shoes.
They're beautiful.
Yes, and local folks who are behind them, so that makes it even better.
Eric Porter coming from Deerfield is where you're native?
From Deerfield, live in Chicago now.
Okay, and you're a
Awesome.
former Loyola basketball player, aren't you too?
Back when I was good, yeah.
Okay, I don't know
What
about that.
position did you play?
Well, I'm short and I'm on athletics, so I was a guard.
Okay.
And I was able to shoot, so that was my only way to see the court.
Okay.
Okay, I see your shirt. That must be the brand. Tell us about the shoes. Tell us about you, what you built here.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. This is Stria Sport. It's a Chicago footwear brand that also makes apparel, and we're a smaller brand, but we've used our experiences. Our team is all former athletes of different, ways of life, and we use our experience to put that into footwear.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask you about. Being a former athlete, you've seen the injuries that can come from footwear issues. You've seen the benefits of what a good pair of shoes can do, and these are you highlight several different sports. So you're kind of working to alleviate pain and issues for a lot of people.
Yeah, you're spot on. Our shoes are all about performance. So our basketball shoe was our first shoe to come out, was all about comfort, lightweight, but we built in ankle support. And same thing with our new pickleball shoe. It was all about durability.
And have a pickleball shoe now.
I mean, anywhere you go, people are talking about pickleball.
Yeah.
So
No, for real.
it's new. It just came out a month ago, and that's a shoe that focuses on comfort and ankle support, just because ankle injuries are so prevalent right now in the sport.
So making sure that you put kind of this like technology in, making sure you're really making it for the athlete. Did it take you a long time to come up with some of these designs?
Yeah, to be honest, I am the most impatient person alive, and shoes aren't something you do in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
This takes, anywhere from 8 months to 15 months. And the design process, you go through the different mock-ups, all of that. You get feedback from people. I don't listen to myself. I take feedback from all different, age demographics, all of that. And once you finish the design process, you go on to the development process, and then you go through the development phase of getting prototypes, and then you wear test it, and then this looks right, this doesn't look right. No sample in history has ever been correct the first time, and that's where the patience comes in. But that's also the fun part of it. You're seeing samples and you're seeing a vision come to life.
Yeah. Okay. Where did you get the name from? And walk us through the designs that we're seeing here, because you have a lot of bright colors. I love the flag that's on one of your shoes, the design that came from the city of Chicago's flag. Just walk us through the name and the designs.
The name was literally the last thing we came up with. We finished the shoe, the design was done, and the factory was like, we need a name, like we're ready. And I couldn't think of anything. I didn't want it to be corny, but I wanted it to be cool and sleek. And then the Latin word industria popped up, which means energy. And the idea of whether it's your family or sports or business, you got to put in the right energy, or else it's not going to work. And so we cut that word in half because it was too long. Stria sounded cooler.
It does sound cool. It's catchy. What has your response been like here in Chicago? Because we know that Chicagoans like supporting Chicago.
It's been unbelievable.
Good.
And I don't think the success that we've had would happen if we were in another city. There's so many creatives. Basketball and sports in Chicago is so dominant, and people are so supportive. And we've made connections throughout just organically, and that's to us the best way. So Chicago is in our foundation, it's in our DNA, and they've been very supportive.
All right, so let's talk dreams. One, did you ever see getting to this point? A lot of times you kind of have this dream in your head, you're like, hey, maybe I could do that, I don't know. So did you ever see getting to this point, and what comes next?
No, I did not see it getting to this point. I think everyone's pipe dream as a 11-year-old in class. I'm doodling during class of shoes, but it was never, let's start a shoe company. And then, playing in college, performance footwear was so dominant in terms of the athlete has to wear the right gear. And that's where, me being a shoe nerd took over. And that's where I was like, oh, maybe let's study more of the specs. And so we started working on that, and it happened all organically after I graduated, and my passion for footwear, sports, business all just merged together. And then things have we've had great momentum.
Yeah.
What's
Okay,
next?
What's next? Because we like to manifest on this show. We've had
Yeah.
many people look into this camera, this camera 3, and they're honestly a couple weeks later some of their dreams have come true. So what do you see for the future? What are your big hopes?
I think we want to keep growing where it's not just a Chicago brand, but it's a global brand.
Yeah.
In more lines, we have more athletes wearing around the world, and really just it's a household name as like the top brands that you see now, and street just becomes a part of everyday's life, everyone's life.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, footwear is a crowded field.
Yeah.
One, how did you maybe get the confidence? Like if somebody's watching right now and they're saying, I've got this dream. I was talking to somebody else recently about was it a filtered water? You have this like small dream and you're like, maybe I can. No, there's too much out there. So how do you have the confidence to say, I could put a name on something, I can sell that thing? And then 2, how do you make a way in that crowded field for what you have?
Yeah, it goes back to the idea of just using our experience. We don't have a corporate ladder. It's a small team. We, what do I like, what don't I like, and just taking that feedback and putting into the product. But at the same time, the idea of, don't be scared of failure, but be scared of regret.
Ooh, yes.
Where if we never did it, then we'll always sit back and be like, God, I wish I would have done it.
Yeah.
And that to me would have, ate at me at night.
Yeah.
So it was just, let's see what happens. People love seeing an underdog story. And, that's what we're chasing right now.
So I think we just had some pictures up. Were those athletes that have worn your brand?
Yeah, we have been very fortunate to create a
Wow.
great community of pro athletes. We've had over 100 pro athletes around the world.
Go ahead, name drop for us a little.
We had, multiple people in the Olympics last summer on Puerto Rico, South Sudan.
Wow.
We had the Harlem Globetrotters wearing.
That's awesome.
And now, recently, we have one of the best pickleball players in the world, who's, maybe ranked number 3.
Hey, what's his name?
Gabe Tardio.
Okay.
Who's wearing our new pickleball shoe.
That's so
Awesome.
cool. One thing, I'm going to ask you kind of a deep question because I heard that you have a lot of ex-athletes on your team. It probably gives them a sense of community again, because I know my fiance played hockey, has had trouble kind of like, not having that anymore once you get out. It's probably just a great tight-knit team, isn't it?
It's such a tight-knit team. And that was a tongue twister. It's a great community of our team. We all have the same vision. And then speaking with athletes, whether basketball, pickleball, young kids, it brings you back to like that locker room feel where you're talking sports, and it's always fun because I'm out of that game now, but it takes me back to my youth.
Okay, quickly, we're running out of time. For people who are interested, where can they find more about the brand?
Yeah, just go to our website, striasport.com, STRIA sport.com, and check it out.
Eric, you are awesome, and we wish you so much continued success. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing with us. Gabby's over here trying to get a good fit. See if she can walk out of here in those. They are
me, everybody.
nice. They are nice.
They are nice.
Let me make sure you're covered.
Oh, thank you. Keeping it classy
Thank you so
here.
much for being here. We definitely wish you continued success.
Thank you.
Underdog
Thank you,
no
Eric.
more, man. You're on the scene.
No
I
kidding.
hope.
You're in
You
the
are.
Olympics. You had a number 3 player in pickleball. You're there now.
Yeah.
You're there now. But we wish you even bigger and better things.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.
Had a ton of fun today on
We did.
Chicago
A lot of different
Now.
topics.
Yeah. So we'll see you again right here tomorrow.